Shurima is finally here. We waited so long for it and it arrived. It's when you log into Legends of Runeterra when a new patch downloads and you suddenly realise you actually have no idea where to start deck building. This video looks at 4 Shurima themed decks that you can try out in the early days of the new meta. This is Best New Shurima Decks. This video has been done in collaboration with BomberTV. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on the bell notifications too. So let's dive in. This is Zed Azir and features cards from Iona and Shurima. It's pretty much a mid-range deck and it's all about filling the board and attacking with units. I'd say pretty much every card in this deck, with the exception of one, costs between 1 and 4 mana, and it's also a mid-budget deck with 4 epic cards in total. This is a typical Swarm deck. With the new addition of Field Magician and all of the Azir Swarm package, this deck can come to life. Field Magician is a new card that has the effect each round to refill your spell mana and draw 1 card when you've summoned 3+ allies. As this deck is all around swarming allies, you have no difficulty achieving this. Azir has the effect to summon a Sand Soldier every time allies attack, so this supports the theme nicely. You have loads of early game units which benefit from summoning a lot of allies, so think cards like Sparring Student and Green Glade Duo. Sparring Student gets 1/1 every time you summon an ally this round, and Green Glade Duo is an elusive card which gains 1 damage every time you summon an ally this round. You can sense the theme here, I hope. Field Magician's mana restoring effect is very important in this deck, as it actually also runs a lot of protective spells like Nopify and the new card Ancient Hourglass. Therefore, always having spell mana replenished is a very nice bonus to have. Nopify stops a fast or slow spell that costs 4 or less mana, and Ancient Hourglass obliterates an ally and summons a stasis statue in its place. This statue has a countdown 1 effect and summons an exact copy of the obliterated unit it replaces when that countdown ends. Then of course you have all the Swarm package, where Azir is the most important card, both due to him being pretty big on the attack with his effect, as well as constantly be able to summon more units. Therefore your opponent will have to both answer tall and wide strategies. This deck also creates a living shadow every time Zed attacks, so you're going to have so many different swarming strategies here. The main way of finishing, of course, is by being very, very aggressive, so even though I've said it's a bit of a mid-range deck, it's more of an aggro, I'd also say. Windfarer Hatchling, and in general all the other elusive cards that this deck has, can be the answer to this. Windfarer Hatchling grants all allies 2/2, and the round it's summoned has elusive itself, so with this buff and a wide board, your opponent will not stand a chance. This is Nasus Renekton Mono Shurima and features 40 cards from Shurima. The deck actually has a very low average mana cost, with all but 3 copies of Nasus costing 4 or less mana. The deck has an equal mix of followers and spells, and it's actually quite budget with only 1 epic card, which is the Buried Sand Disk. The idea of this deck is to restore the Sun Disk and get some crazy level up, with Renekton and Nasus, your 2 Ascended champions. The 2 rivals work well together in this Mono Shurima deck. The Sun Disk is a new landmark card which you can draw 1 at the start of the game. You basically draw it instantly if you've got a Mono Shurima deck like this one. It has a countdown of 25 and a champion level up advances this count by 10. This is the first time we have level 3 champions, and you can quickly advance the Sun Disk by leveling up. Level 1 Renekton and Nasus. Nasus needs to deal 12+ damage and Nasus needs to strike for 10+ damage. Once you finally level them up, the level 3 champions can only be reached by restoring the Sun Disk. So after this criteria is met, you can finally access level 3 Renekton and Nasus. We have cards which benefit from being Mono Shurima, like the Sun Disk of course, and cards like Golden Ambassador, which is very important in this deck to tutor your champions out, as basically all of the deck is built around getting them out. Golden Ambassador has the Allegiance effect to draw a champion and grant it 2/2. Obviously Allegiance only activates when the next card in your deck is from the same region, and obviously all 40 here are from Shurima, so it's always going to activate. As both Nasus and Renekton levels up requirement benefit from having higher damage, this synergy is perfect. The rest of the cards also synergize well with this concept. There are cards that help you draw more, like Runeterra's Path and Preservarum. A Runeterra's Path allows you to draw 1 card, and if you've slain a unit this round, drain 2 from the enemy Nexus. This drain helps you survive long enough to level up Nasus and Renekton. Preservarium allows you to draw 1 card when summoned and draws another card when countdown 2 is reached. Other cards also help you level up your champions, giving vulnerable to both make Renekton able to challenge things, activating his effect, or to slay enemy units for Nasus. So this deck can generate a lot of value in the form of crazy champions. So if they don't have the proper tools to basically counter this strategy, your opponent's going to have a super hard time. This is Sivir LeBlanc Aggro and features cards primarily from Nasus, with 9 Shurima cards thrown in for good measure. It's a very follower heavy deck with 24 followers in total. It's a typical aggro deck with every card costing 5 or less mana, with the vast majority costing either 2 or 4 mana. It's quite an expensive deck with 9 epic cards in total. Sivir and LeBlanc share the same playstyle and both have packages with the unique keyword Reputation. Reputation activates if you have units strike for 5 or more damage 4 different times in a game. That's why I run a lot of units in this deck with 5+ attack, or others with 3 attack to be buffed later by cards such as Weapon Hilt or Voice of the Risen. Weapon Hilt increases damage of a unit by 2 and reforges, and Voice of the Risen is a new epic card that gives allies +2 damage if you've leveled up a champion. All the cards in this deck are about damage, so you should level up LeBlanc and Sivir very quick. LeBlanc creates a mirror image every time she sees you deal 15 damage, so this summons an exact ephemeral copy of an ally with 5+ power, basically helping you flood the board with damage. Having a leveled up Sivir is fantastic. She gains Spell Shield and gives all attacking allies her keywords, so if you give her Overwhelm, thanks to the Blade Fragments package or K to the Arm, you're going to have a very powerful win condition here, and this actually happens so quickly that it's pretty scary. So if you want to climb the ranks quick, this is definitely a fun way to do it. This is Taliyah Aphelios and it features cards from Targon and Shurima. It's extremely landmark heavy with 12 in total, and as a result it does not rely much on followers and it only contains 7 in total. It's a bit of a mid-range style deck and has a lot of cards with low mana costs with a huge percentage costing 1 or 2 mana. It's very budget and no epic cards are needed. The idea behind this deck is to take advantage of Taliyah's ability and copy the best landmark that we currently have in the game. Of course, I'm talking about the Veiled Temple. When Taliyah is summoned, she creates an exact copy of an allied landmark. The Veiled Temple has the effect each round the first time you play 2 other cards, you refill 2 mana and grant the strongest ally 1/1. This is a very good match for the landmark since we're forced to go into Targon, the region of the Veiled Temple, and Shurima, so this is where the second champion comes into play, Aphelios, who also works around buffing cards. After this concept, this deck basically builds itself. We have the landmark synergy in the form of the Shaped Stone and Unraveled Earth. Shaped Stone gives an ally 1/1 this round, and 3/1 if you've already summoned a landmark this game. This should be dead easy with the amount of landmarks in this deck. Unraveled Earth summons 2 Rolling Stone landmarks and allows you to draw 1 card. Roiled Stones has the effect which destroys a landmark when an enemy is summoned and grants it vulnerable. Taliyah levels up when you summon 5+ landmarks. When she levels up on attack she deals 2 to the blocker, and if it's dead or gone deals 2 to the enemy Nexus. If you have a landmark, which you're basically going to have in most cases, she does this 2 more times for absolutely insane value. We also have loads of Nightfall triggers for Aphelios, like Lunari Dustbringer in particular, but also other very new cards that are cheap, like Exhaust. This is a very powerful card. Exhaust is basically a focus spell which gives an enemy -2 damage and vulnerable this round, and it only costs 1 mana. So this deck is mainly a mid-range one, but particularly slow in early game, but against control in particular, it doesn't really punish the lack of early development, so this deck could be absolutely devastating. So whilst it suffers a bit more to its aggro, control is where you're going to thrive here, and I have a feel the meta is going to go quite control with this new expansion. So overall a very value orientated deck for players who can wait and be rewarded for their patience. This is Renekton Azir Aggro Control, and this is a mono Shurima deck. It contains only a small number of spells with 9 in total. The average mana cost in this deck is strange, with most cards either costing 1 or 4 mana, and it's a medium budget deck with 4 epic cards in total. This probably has to be the most interesting deck concept of them all, as a combination of aggro and control, and this is quite unique. The idea of this deck is if you're playing aggressively pretty much all the time, and it synergizes nicely with the Sand Soldiers. You go wide and buff your whole board thanks to cards like Inspiring Marshal or Voice of the Risen. In the control matchup, or generally if you fail to kill your opponent fast, there's a long-term plan of leveling up Renekton to the 3rd level, or more importantly, Azir, so you can access the Emperor's deck, which basically translates to you winning the game. In particular, you don't really need to play Buried Sundisk on turn 1, as a big part of the countdown is leveling up 2 champions rather than the actual countdown itself. So for example, you could play a 1-drop on turn 1, especially if you have the attack token, then play Buried Sundisk on turn 2, whenever you'd be floating the 1 mana of course, you'd have 2 mana on turn 2. So basically you're an aggro deck in the early game, and wasting your turn 1 could basically put you at a massive disadvantage. Lots of your cards in the deck revolve around your other champions, so Golden Ambassador, who has the Allegiance effect to draw a champion and grant it 2/2, or Voice of the Risen again, who gives all your allies 2 damage if you've leveled up a champion. So this is really a deck for all kind of playstyles, aggressive at the start, insane value at the end. I think you're going to really enjoy this one. And there we go guys, I hope you liked this Shurima 4 decks video. I can already tell this region is going to be so much fun to play, and I can't wait to see what new decks pop up in the coming weeks. Do you have an early favourite deck? What's your favourite new champion? I would love to hear in the comments. Up next is Top 10 Decks Patch 2.3, taking a look at the 10 highest win rates in the new meta once it finally settles. See you there. The data presented here is analysed by BomberTV using MOBA Analytics. He's a Masters tier player with a background in game theory and game design. He took the most winning archetypes into Master tier, excluding ones with small play rates, analysed their key properties on why they are so strong. Link to his channel is in a pinned comment and in the card above. I've recently set up an Instagram account, @LawGuides, and I'll be doing a giveaway shortly. Please follow this account for see posts about new videos, and will be in a chance of winning this giveaway. Please remember to like and subscribe, and turn on bell notifications too. See you next time guys.